Yeah. Sister Katie, we can resume.
Okay. Okay. So Master says we need to nurture a loving heart as we are the most, and protect all living beings as we are the most intelligent creatures on earth. We are born kind and good. So why should we respect other living beings? So I'm going to play you another video that's gonna explain to you why. Okay.
Okay.
We start with a simple question. Does my pet really love me, or does she just want a treat? Obviously, she really loves us. Obviously, right? How do we know what's really going on in those furry little heads? Something is going on. And why is the question always, do they love me? Why is it always about us? Why are we such narcissists? I have a different question. Who are you? That's a better question for animals, I think. We have things going on in our minds that we tend to assume are the exclusive abilities of humans. But there are other brains out there. Some of them are very big. What are they doing with those big brains? Can they think? Can they feel? How can we possibly find a way into that question? Well, there are ways in. We can look at the brain, we can look at evolution, and we can look at behaviors. First thing we have to realize is that our mind is inherited. Our brain comes from somewhere else. Jellyfish had the first nerves. The first nerves gave us the first spinal cords. The first spinal cords became the first vertebrates. Vertebrates came out of the ocean and started to create all kinds of trouble. It's still true that nerves of a fish or a dog or a person all are basically the same. It's their organization that matters. But if the nerves are the same, what does that have to say about the possibility of mental experiences? Something like a crayfish, for instance. It turns out that you can give a crayfish anxiety disorder by giving it little electric shocks every time it tries to come out of its burrow. But if you give it the same drug that is used to treat anxiety disorder in humans, the crayfish relaxes, mellows out, and comes out and starts exploring. Same thing with dogs with obsessive-compulsive disorder. You give them the same drugs used to treat OCD in humans, it works for them too. What does that have to say about the parallel functionings of our brains? Do we celebrate the anxiety of crayfish? No, mostly we just boil them. Octopuses use tools as well as do most apes. They recognize human faces. Do we celebrate the ape-like minds of octopi? Mostly we boil them. When grouper fish chase a prey fish into a crevice in the coral, they will go to where they know a moray eel is sleeping, and they will signal to the moray, "Follow me." The moray goes, the moray will slither into the crevice. Sometimes the moray will get the fish, Sometimes the fish bolts and the grouper gets it. It's a partnership. How do we celebrate the partnership between groupers and moray eels? Mostly fried. Sea otters use stone tools, and sea otters take time away from their own doings to teach baby sea otters what to do. Chimpanzees use tools, but chimpanzees don't take time to teach. Killer whales teach, and they share food. When we look at human brains, we see that the human brain is an elaboration on earlier brains, an elaboration that comes through the long sweep of evolution. If you look at the human brain and a chimpanzee brain, you see that the human brain is basically a very big chimpanzee brain. It's big, at least, so we can retain a certain insecure sense of our own superiority, which is the main thing that matters to us. But there's a dolphin brain. Bigger, more convolutions. What is it doing with that brain? We can see brains, but cannot see minds. Yet we can see the workings of minds in the logic of behaviors. These elephants, in this family of elephants, they have found a shady patch under the palms. That's a good place to let the babies go to sleep. The adults are resting too, but they're just dozing and they're staying a little bit vigilant all the time. We make sense of that because they make sense of the world in similar ways. They look relaxed because they are relaxed. They've chosen the shade for the same reason we would choose the shade. These elephants don't look relaxed. No one would make that mistake looking at them. They seem alarmed. They are alarmed. There are dangers. There are people who hurt them. It turns out that if you record the conversations of tourists and you record the conversations of herders who sometimes hurt elephants, and then you play it through a hidden speaker, the elephants ignore the tourists, but they bunch up and flee in fear from the conversations of herders. They put different kinds of humans in different categories. They know what's going on. They know who their friends are. They know who their enemies are. They know who their family members are. They have the same imperatives that we have. Whether on land or in the sea, it's the same. Stay alive, keep your babies alive, let life continue. We see and understand helping. We see curiosity in the young. We see the bonds of family members. We recognize affection for what it is. Courtship is courtship. People sometimes still ask, but are they conscious? Well, when you get general anesthesia, you become unconscious. It means that all of your sensory input is stopped. You have no sensation of the world around you. That's unconscious. When you have sensation of the world around you, you are conscious. Consciousness is very widespread. Some people think that empathy is a very special thing that only humans have. But empathy is simply the mind's ability to match the mood of your companions. It's very useful and it's very important. You have to know what's going on around you, what everybody's doing. The oldest kind of empathy is called contagious fear. If you're with a bunch of companions and they suddenly all startle and leave, it's not very good for you to be standing there saying, hey, I wonder why everybody just left. Through evolution, empathy has been embellished as well. I think there are sort of 3 stages of empathy. There's feeling with another. I see you're happy, it makes me happy. I see you're sad, it makes me sad. Then there's sympathy. I'm sorry your grandmother died. I don't feel the same way that you do, but I sympathize. And then there is what I call compassion, meaning acting on your feeling for another. Far from being a special thing that only humans have, human empathy is far from perfect. We round up empathic animals, we kill them, and we eat them. And you might say, well, that's just predation, that's a different species. Humans are predators, but we're not so great to our own species either a lot of the time. I've noticed that people who know only one thing about animal behavior know this word, and that you must never project human feelings and emotions on other animals. But I'm here to tell you that I think that projecting human emotions and human thoughts on other animals is the best first guess about what they're doing and why. After all, it's not terribly scientific to say they're hungry when they're eating and they're tired when their tongues are hanging out, and then when they are playing and seem joyful, say, we have no way of knowing what's going on in their minds. Now, recently, I sort of had that conversation with a reporter, and the reporter said, okay, that's kind of convincing, but really, how do you really know that other animals think and feel? And I thought of the hundreds of scientific references that I read when I was writing my book, but then I realized that the answer was right in the room with me. That when my pup comes off the rug and comes over to me, rolls over on her back and exposes her belly, she has had the thought, I would like my belly rubbed. And she knows that she can come to me, not the sofa, that I will understand her request and that I can get the job done. And she anticipates the pleasure of having her belly rubbed. She can think and she can feel. And it's not much more complicated than that. Usually when we see animals, we say, oh, look, there's elephants or there's killer whales or whatever it is we see. But to them, they know exactly who they are. This is not just killer whales. That one with the tall fin, that male there, he's 36-year-old L41. Right to his left is his sister. She is 42-year-old L44. They've been together for decades. They know exactly who they are. This is Philo the elephant. This is Philo the elephant 4 days later. Humans not only feel grief, humans create grief. We want to carve their teeth. Why don't we wait for them to die? Elephants used to live from the shores of the Mediterranean to the Cape of Good Hope in Africa. By 1980, they still had vast strongholds in Central and East Africa. Their ranges are being fractured and fragmented. This is the geography of a magnificent creature that we are driving to extinction. We do much better in our own national parks here in the United States. We simply killed every single wolf in Yellowstone. Then 60 years later, we brought them back because the elk had gotten out of control. Many thousands of people spent many millions of dollars coming to the park to watch the world's most famous wolves. These are the alpha trio of a very stable pack. That one on the right there is the breeding male. The one on the left is his mate. The other one is his brother. Then suddenly, wolves came off the Endangered Species Act. Congress took wolves off. The wolves went to the edge of the park. Those two were shot. The entire pack, which had been so stable, disintegrated into fighting and division. The alpha male of the most famous, most stable pack in Yellowstone lost his companions, his hunting territory, and his whole family. We bring them a lot of harm. One of the mysteries is, why don't they harm us very much at all? No free-living killer whale has ever hurt a human being. This one had just finished eating part of a gray whale that he and his family had killed, but those people in the boat had absolutely nothing to fear. This one had just eaten a seal that weighed as much as those people in the boat, but they had absolutely nothing to fear. They eat seals. Why don't they ever eat us? How is it we can trust them around our toddlers? Why is it that on more than one occasion, killer whales have returned to researchers who got lost in the fog and guided them miles to home? In the Bahamas, dolphins who were very familiar with Denise Herzing, a researcher there, and very interactive with her, suddenly got entirely skittish. What in the world was going on? Suddenly somebody on the boat realized that a person in the boat had died during a nap in their bunk. How could the dolphins have detected that one of the human hearts had stopped. And why would it spook them? These are the mysteries of other minds. In an aquarium in South Africa, there was a baby bottlenose dolphin. Her name was Dolly. One of the keepers was on a break having a smoke outside the window to the tank. Dolly was watching him smoke. She went over to her mother. She nursed for a couple of moments. She came back to the window and she released a cloud of milk that enveloped her head like a cloud of smoke. Somehow she had the idea of using milk to represent smoke, and when we use one thing to represent another, we call it art. The things that make us human are not what we think. What makes us human is that we are the most extreme. We are the most compassionate. We are the most violent. We are the most creative. And we are the most destructive animals ever to appear on this planet. But we are not the only animals that love one another. We are not the only ones who care for our mates or for our children. Albatrosses routinely fly 6,000 to 10,000 miles to bring back one meal for their chick. They live on the most remote islands in the world, and those islands are covered with plastic trash. Into the sacred chain of being that gives life from one generation to the next is our garbage. Here is an albatross chick that was about 6 months old, was about to start flying. It died. It was packed with red cigarette lighters. This is not the relationship we are supposed to have with the world. But we, with our big celebrated brains, don't use them. Yet when we welcome new life into the world, we welcome them with pictures of animals. We don't paint cell phones and work cubicles on nursery walls. We want to say, look who's here with us. And yet every one of those, every one deemed worthy of being saved on Noah's Ark, is in mortal danger now, and the flood is us. We started with a question: do they love us? We need to get outside ourselves a little bit and ask, do we have what it takes to simply let life on earth continue? Thank you.
Okay, so from the video, I'm sure that we can easily conclude that animals can feel and think like humans do too. So this is one of the reasons we need to respect their existence and not just waste their lives as we please. Not only loving other living beings will enhance the good karma wheel, you are bonding with all living beings in a positive way. In which means if you do harm to them, obviously a bad thought and bad mind, a sad thought and sad mind is created. Therefore, negative energy is created. But through loving and respecting, then the positive of loving, the positive energy is created. So speaking of respecting lives, it brings us to the topic of vegetarianism. I want to know how many of you in this room are vegetarian. Can I see the hands up?
Brother Kelvin, are you still a vegetarian?
Vegetarian? Anybody?
Not yet.
We're getting there.
Not yet. Okay. So why do we promote vegetarianism? Firstly, it does not only save lives of the living beings, and it is also indeed a good to the environment. Why would we say it's good to the environment? According to the number investigated by Nature Food, every year animal-based food product produces 9.8 billion tons of carbon dioxide. This statistics is not just about livestock emissions, but it's also the fodder that grows to feed them. So every year, the livestock's emissions, and together with to grow the food to feed them, it produces 9.8 billion tons of carbon dioxide, which is very harmful to our environment. So there's also a statistic. Most plant-based food products produces 10 to 50 times less carbon dioxide than animal-based food products. So to decrease the meat ingest amount, it is not only healthy, but at the same time very green for the environment. There are still a lot of facts on the internet you can find about vegetarianism. Why is it environmental friendly? And also there are a lot of videos you can watch about how animals are being treated as food resources, their living condition, how they have been brought up, and what's the environment that they are living in, and how their lives ended for the few minutes of the taste in our mouths. So maybe in the future we can have a discussion specifically more about vegetarianism. That's about it from my side today. Anybody would like to share a bit? From the 2 videos we watched today, anything you would like to share?
Hello, Sister Katie.
Hello.
Okay, I want to share, you already shared on the part of that we already live with other beings, because we are special beings, we have dominance, we must always think for other beings. So you already shared on that part. I just want to add on the part of karma. If you look at the first video, the 2 friends, they have created good karma when they were thought for other beings, when they thought for the lead, was it for the ills, when they thought for them and then gave them back their chance at life, then they were also given a chance to pass the test, even though the test was just say that they would not pass, but the angel came to him when he was sleeping to say that you will pass because you have done good. So good karma brings bears good results. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Like we're not saying that you must immediately become a vegetarian, but just to decrease the amount of meat ingestion. It will also help. So maybe, for example, you can say for every Monday or Tuesday that I will stop eating meat, but it's not just to say you have to immediately cut off of everything, because we all know it's very difficult sometimes. Anyone else?
That one we can try, no?
Yes. Anyone else would like to share? We actually have a lot of more videos on vegetarianism regarding how the animals are treated. Maybe one day we have some time, I can play for you guys as well.
Okay, that would be
I would love that.
Yes. Anybody like to share about the videos?
Mr. Teach.
Teach is
you
gonna
say
share.
something?
Teach.
Thank you, brother. Teach. I can ask.
I need to ask you, okay, being a vegetarian, like the word vegetarian, it's easy, but here, how can you start being a vegetarian? Because we don't have proper veggies, we don't have proper, food. If you think of being a vegetarian, then when you go back home, there's no veggies there. It's all more of meat. How can we try to stick to that?
Sorry, teacher, I can't hear you very clearly. Can you repeat the question? Somebody at the front.
Yeah.
Sister Katie, Teach is asking that since we are encouraged to be vegetarians and eat meat, but then remember we don't.
It's okay, carry on.
Teach, please come and explain.
Sorry, Sister Kathy, you brought a very, touching topic.
Is it? I will try my best to answer all your questions, but I'm not the most wise person in this field yet. But then if I can't answer the questions, we will ask Brother Tim to continue with the topic next time when he joins us. But you can please state your question again.
Okay, is that is there a sort of like a way or a procedure to follow to become a vegetarian? That's number one. Number two is, here we don't have like proper veggies for us to stick to veggies. When we go back home or where we are living, sometimes we won't get those type of veggies where you can enjoy and then forget about meat. So I don't know how best can we maybe do all these things to become a vegetarian. That's my question.
I am aware that in South Africa, our vegetable types are a bit limited. It's not as, doesn't have so many variety like the Asian countries do. But this is the part where we have to actually start to try to be creative with your cuisines. It's a challenge. It's a big challenge. But like in Asia, a lot of vegetarian food are made of beans. So, and then obviously the development of those soya meat and soya bean food are actually evolutionary as well. You know, it didn't happen in one day. So I think in South Africa, where we're still trying to seek the way our diet can be for vegetarian, we must be more experimental. And then you must try to be creative and play around with the limited choices that we have. Yeah, but I know it is a bit difficult because but we must also try to explore. Sometimes when we have opportunities, you know, there are actually also very nice vegetarian or vegan restaurants out there. I know sometimes they can be a little pricey, but when we save up enough money, we can also go and explore a bit. It will give you a lot of refreshed ideas of how you can adjust your diet in your daily life. And because a lot of things and the combination of food are things that we never thought of and we never tried it before, but it could actually be amazing. Yeah. So I think be experimental and be creative and to give a try, but also keep in mind that every time we eat meat, the meat that's in our mouths for maybe like 3 minutes, it costs a life to become that dish for us. So I think it will encourage us a lot more to make us move forward on the route of vegetarianism. But in the beginning, it will be difficult. You will have to find your replacement of taste in the vegetarian food. I know some people does it with a lot of spices. That could work. They add spices to their food, and you can also think you started gradually. You don't have to cut off everything at once. Some people, they will be starting to cook red meat first, or maybe they will cook chicken first, or maybe they will cook all the meat, but they still eat dairy product, you know? So you don't jump into a complete vegan diet immediately because it is going to be hard. But then one of the way Buddhists promote vegetarianism is also to where we scale ourselves down. We try not to put our desires so strong that actually for our desire that we will have to harm other beings. So it's also a practice of scaling ourselves down into a more modest being. You understand what I'm trying to say? So later stage, in the beginning, like the entrance level for vegetarian to be a vegetarianism, we were still focused a lot on the taste of the food, of the vegetarian food. But later stage, we will realize, you know, food is just something that we take in to support our lives, and then we scale down our desire in that terms. Yeah, but that needs a lot of practice and a long time practice to be able to achieve it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know if I could answer your question fully. If
Yeah, it's helping. Yes.
Yes, but if you have more questions that I can't answer, we can keep it for Brother Tim to come and help us.
Okay.
Any more?
Okay, when it comes to killing living beings,
Yes.
some living beings are very, sometimes are very challenging. For example, maybe a snake can just pass by your yard. And then you don't have, the mind to kill. But then you see the harshness of the snake, then it to drive you to pick a stone. So in that matter, that manner, how best can you avoid to kill living beings like that? You know, because the snake can just come into your house.
Yes.
You don't have that intention to kill. But then if you don't drive it out, sometimes it's going to stay there. And then what should we sort of like do?
Yes. Okay. This question I had asked Brother Tim before as well, because regardless of the snake, let's just talk about like common pest that's in our house, like the ants, the cockroach, the mouse, those stuff. In our in karma, there's different cause and effect to it. But for example, if those pests they entered our house, the first thing is they entered our territory first. So obviously we don't intentionally want to kill them, but then because they entered our territory, sometimes it's very difficult for us to keep everything alive in the house. But then in that sense, there is a different what do you call it, different tone and different level of karma that will apply into this whole incident if something happened like that. So the pest itself, they have to carry the karma, the consequences of entering the human territory, because they should know from the smell and the scent and everything, they should also know it's not my territory to enter. But obviously, when we save their lives, we spare their lives, we decide, okay, we're not going to kill them, we're going to find some other ways to chase them out. That's the compassion from our side. Then that will have a different karma cause and effect and result. So it's quite complex. It's not just simply, you know, if I kill you, I'm completely a sinner. You know, because if somebody wants to kill you one day, you have to protect yourself. You accidentally kill that person. You are meant to protect yourself. So it's a different, it's quite a complex combination of the cause and results for karma, in terms of karma. And the person who wants to kill you, it might be the result of the karma that in the previous lives that you maybe harmed him or did something to him. So in a result in this life, he wants to hurt you back. So it's a very multi-layered what do you call it, multi-layered cause that could cause whatever that's happening around us. But then if somebody harms you but you decide to forgive them, then that's your compassion. You are already turning the whole negative karma into a positive karma. I don't know if this could maybe answer your question a little bit.
Yes. True. Those things were giving us problems.
Any other questions? And also, for being vegetarianism, for being a vegetarian, there are also a simpler way of starting to do it. You can still eat meat, but you don't eat meat that's killed specifically for you. For example, not on your birthday, you go to buy a chicken, a live chicken, and then bring it home to specially kill it for your birthday. So you don't eat stuff that's specially killed for you, and you don't watch the animal being killed in front of you. And also you don't do it yourself. These are the easiest steps to start with. Yes.
Thank you so much. But I believe next time when we repeat this, we might have more contributions.
Yes, I will. In the future, when we have opportunity, I will play you guys more videos regarding vegetarianism. A lot of them are regarding environmental awareness, so environmental friendliness, and a lot of them are regarding how the animals are being treated, the way they are kept alive to be able to feed human. You know, because to keep them efficiently in a commercial way, obviously they won't have a luxury lifestyle to live through. They will have to be very commercialized. So normally it's not very humane. Yeah, it's quite a brain shocker to watch, actually. Yeah, but in the future when we have an opportunity, I will play it for you guys.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other more sharings or questions? If not, should we conclude for today?
Yes, we can conclude.
We can conclude for today.
Yes.
Okay, then teacher, will you please lead us to bow?
Oh, thank you. Let's all stand up. Okay, first bow. Second bow. Third bow. Wonderful. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
everybody. Thank you. See you next week.
See you.
Bye-bye.
It's okay.